I'm male 35, have a daughter 19. I was a terrible dad to her, which I think is expected because I was just a kid. At first I left her with a family member because I wanted to finish high school. Then I decided to go to college. And after that, I decided to wait until I had a good job and earned some money before I finally decided to raise my child when she was a young teen. I feel awful about how I treated her, and I wish I could go back in time and raise her myself. She had a tough childhood because the people raising her were poor, and I didn't help. However, now I'm making good money, and for her 18th birthday, I've decided to give everything to her. My house, my car, most of my savings, everything. I did so and started over. My friends all told me I was crazy and said my daughter would kick me out of the home as soon as she got everything. However, it's been almost 2 years, and my daughter's never mentioned the fact that I'm still living in her home, using her car and her money. Anyway, I've been dating my girlfriend for 10 months now, and we're in love and thinking about marriage. She has a teen daughter from a previous relationship. A few days ago, we talked about getting married, and she told me that she understood if I wanted a prenup because I'm richer than her. I laughed and told her that she would be the one asking for a prenup because I don't own crap. She looked surprised and asked me what I meant, considering I have a nice house, an expensive car, and a pretty luxurious lifestyle. This can't be true. I told her that almost everything was my daughter's and told her the whole story. She asked, what if we get married? What about my child, me, and our future kids? Do they get nothing because everything's my daughter's? I've been saving for almost 2 years now, and I'll keep saving, and soon we'll be able to have our own house and car. She, however, thinks I'm an idiot, and I've been deceiving her by not telling her that I don't have anything. Another problem is that my daughter doesn't like my girlfriend, and we both know she won't tolerate her living with us, and she'll likely kick us out after I get married. And now my girlfriend is furious. So am I the idiot for giving everything to my daughter without thinking about my future wife and children? For her 18th birthday, I decided to give everything to her. My house, my car, most of my savings, everything. This was not a rational decision, and you should talk to a therapist. You are the idiot for dating this person for 10 months, discussing marriage, and never telling her your financial situation until now. I can't blame your girlfriend for being shocked at the news. Once the relationship got serious, it should have been discussed. Wow, I get the guilt, but this seems like a moronic move. You gave an 18-year-old more money than they've ever had, with probably little to no guidance on how to handle the actual day-to-day reality and responsibility of it. Plus, it seems like you never really grew. You refused to be there for her because of money, and you think giving her all of your money will absolve you of your abandonment? Money's not the same as love. You could have set up a trust and staggered your gifts, but you needed to make it this massive gesture to make yourself feel better. Did you get therapy when you decided to start raising her when she was a young teen? Dude, this screams dysfunction. Oh, and ditch the gold digger. Nobody gets to dictate what you do for your kid. Period. I agree. OP's not the idiot. You're not obligated to discuss your financial situation with a partner until you start talking about living together or marriage. You did tell her about it when you started talking about marriage, so you're not an idiot for that. You can also give your possessions to whoever you want. Your girlfriend is just salty because she thought she'd get the nice house and the nice car, and now she won't. She sounds like a gold digger. Also, I say this as a solicitor. Always get a prenup, even if you and your partner earn the same amount, etc., etc. You have no idea the lengths that people can go to try and screw someone over. Always protect yourself with a prenup. I, 20 female, have an older sister, Laura, 29. Laura has 3 kids, the youngest of which is Freya, young grammar school age. I'm autistic and was diagnosed when I was around 11 or 12. Growing up, my family didn't really understand autism, even after my diagnosis. My parents and Laura would always mock me or get angry at my traits. I was considered disrespectful if I didn't want to sit through a loud party because I was overwhelmed. If I didn't want to eat one specific food because of its texture, I would be punished. When I was 13, Laura recorded me having a sensory meltdown because of loud music blaring through the house for hours, and she sent it to all her friends to laugh at me. This is just an example of one of many incidents. Now I'm just a regular functioning adult living away from them. A few months ago, my niece Freya was diagnosed with autism, which I found out because Laura posted about it on Facebook. Since then, her entire social media has been exclusively lots of posts daily about how difficult it is to be a parent of a child with autism. Last weekend, Laura threw a small party for Freya's birthday. Every 5 minutes, Laura would mention that Freya was diagnosed with autism. Eventually, my sister and I were chatting in private after the party, and she said that she felt guilty for how she treated me growing up, that she was horrible, and that she wished it was different. I was matter of fact and agreed with her. Yes, she was horrible, and I wish it was different too, and you should feel guilty. Laura seemed shocked at my reaction and said that she was sorry. She said I'm being cold and unforgiving, and that people make mistakes, and she didn't know any better. I didn't get a chance to respond because she stormed off into her room, and her husband told me it was better if I left. My parents are now on my case about everything and saying I'm not treating her like family. Not the idiot. You didn't bring it up, she did. You agreed with her self-assessment. She was probably fishing for forgiveness, or for you to tell her some platitude like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But you don't owe her that. If she apologizes and you accept her apology, maybe things could change, but you have no obligation to do so. The same thing happened with my mom. I've found it's always best to agree with those self-pity statements because they drop that tactic as soon as you do it once. The last time my mom ever tried to pull the, oh, I'm just such a bad mom card, I replied, actually, you were. Let's dig into that. I then tore into her for about 2 hours over how she failed me as a parent from my toddler years through that moment in my adulthood. She was shocked, but it's been almost 2 years, and I've not heard that phrase from her since. It sounds harsh, but a lifetime of manipulative BS gave me an incredibly short fuse for nonsense. That stops a lot before it gets too squirrely. Back to your sister. She disregarded your emotions in youth and almost actively relished in your suffering for clout and laughs with her friends. And now she's relishing her daughter's autism for internet clout and laughing with her friends. Only forgive her when you want to. If her apology was genuine, she would have understood this. And if your parents had a semblance of intelligence or care, they'd understand this too. She just doesn't like the consequences of her adult actions. And I don't know if you've heard the term, but the autistic community has a specific term for parents who so constantly talk about their kids' autism for pity points and moan about how it's just so hard being a parent of an autistic kid, basically building their whole personality around this sacrifice they're making, being a parent to their kid. It's just that pretending to be a martyr for doing their job, even if it is in some ways set to hard mode, just because they revel in the attention other people give for feeling sorry for them and painting themselves as a hero, it just bothers me. It decenters the person experiencing the epicenter of the struggle, often while actively abusing them. I feel sorry for her daughter. I, 35 female, and my husband, 39, have been together for 8 years. We have 2 children, a tween and a pre-tween. For the past few years, we've been thinking hard about being foster parents. My husband grew up in the system, and it caused him loads of trauma and PTSD, so he wanted to do something good for these children. We were living more than comfortably, and we wanted to make other children's holidays great and hopeful to have an impact. I mentioned it to my parents and some other relatives about a week before placement. We were placed with siblings, 2 tween girls. They came a few days after Thanksgiving, and it's a situation that we hope to adopt as well. My sister's hosting the Christmas party for the whole family and messaged me about this with some complaints, saying some people didn't want to buy these children gifts and that they weren't part of the family, that I picked the worst time to do this and how some people were worried about their behaviors. I said as long as they were in my household, they would be considered family, and I picked the best time to do this because no child should be alone on Christmas. She got irritated and said just because I made this choice doesn't mean everyone needs to, and asked if the kids even deserved it, how I didn't even think this through, and how they'd be towards others at the party. My sister and her husband were at my home when I caught the tweens stealing my husband's cigarettes. So now they're under the impression they're bad children, which equals not deserving of privileges. I said that none of us would be attending. After that, she started spamming calls to my phone, which I answered once, and we got into a heated argument where she told me I'd be ruining the whole thing. I'm helping her cook most of the meals. I blocked her number for a couple of days. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's probably best that you don't attend regardless. I doubt these two kids are really ready to navigate a big family celebration with a bunch of strangers when they barely even know you yet. You guys went into a very challenging situation, and things will be hard. I could even be sympathetic towards your family, since their lives may be affected by your decisions. But honestly, the fact that they're focusing on you not making dishes for Christmas really paints a pretty awful picture. You are the idiot for demanding your extended family treat these new additions to your household the same as the kids in your family. You haven't given anyone enough time to adjust and develop familiarity with each other. There's no guarantee the foster kids will stay long enough to be there on Christmas. They may not. You've only known them for a few weeks. It's nice you want to open your home to needy kids. It's also unrealistic to expect and intrusive to require your extended family to immediately take up your attitude towards these foster kids. Do you mean just like they would have to get presents if someone in the family had a baby in October instead of having foster kids? How is this any different just because the kids are older? Ah, the Grinch has made an appearance. Welcome. Heaven forbid people be kind to children on Christmas. Who knows what they expect? I mean, honestly, if getting 2 foster kids Christmas presents is that much of a burden to you, you already have failed at Christmas. I disagree. I think you're setting your kids up to hate the fosters if they miss out on holiday fun because of your choice. Expecting other people in your family to shower them with gifts before even meeting them is rather entitled. How are you managing this transition with your own children? Are they being treated or told as if the foster kids are the same to you as your existing kids? Have you explored your kids' feelings, concerns, and reactions to this change in their home and family? It's too soon to ask too much. It's a lot for everyone. My husband and I traveled to Mexico to visit my family. I'm an American citizen, but my mom and dad are not. My mom and dad got my daughter earrings for her birthday. My daughter's ears are not pierced, and she's only 1 year old. I told them that I would save them for her until she was old enough to get her ears pierced. We left my daughter with my parents while we met up with some friends. When we went to pick up my daughter, my mom showed us that we didn't need to wait because they had taken her to get her ears pierced. I got my daughter and I dragged my husband out of there before he lost his crap. We went back to our hotel. I am furious. My husband said that my parents are not allowed to spend time alone with my daughter ever again. I went farther. I said I would not be bringing her or any other kids we might have down here to see my parents. We checked out 3 days early and went home. On the way home, my parents called me to see when we were coming over. I ignored all the calls and texts until we returned to Phoenix. We took a couple of days to think things over and cool down. I finally called them. I asked them not to speak until I was done talking. I told them that my husband and I were upset with them for getting our baby's ears pierced without our permission. I told them that we went back home and probably wouldn't be visiting for a while. They said that my sister and I both had pierced ears when we were babies and that it didn't harm us. I said that we were not going to change our minds. They started getting everyone, including my grandmother, to call me and say I was being ridiculous. I talked with my husband and we came up with a compromise. We agreed that we would resume visits, but not alone time with them if they both got their noses pierced. They said that we were being stupid and that they weren't going to do that. I said, no problem, and hung up. We've started blocking anyone who tries to call us and give us crap for denying my parents their right to see my daughter. Am I the idiot? Edit. The earrings are out, but her ears are infected. They're scabby and have pus. She's on antibiotics. That's awesome for a baby. Not the idiot. I read your ultimatum as more tongue-in-cheek. Not that you're actually expecting them to get their noses pierced, but that you're simply enforcing a no-contact boundary, knowing that they're obviously not getting themselves pierced. That's fine and fair. What they did was wrong on so many levels, and since they refuse to apologize or take accountability for their colossal lapse of judgment, I think going no contact is appropriate. I'd hold firm to the nose-piercing ultimatum. Then if they actually did it, still stay no contact. I'm amazed they found a piercer willing to do it without legal guardian consent. But I guess this was in Mexico, so they wouldn't have had the same laws for tattoo or piercing shops. This would be illegal in the U.S. unless they found someone to backdoor do the piercing without legal approval. OP's parents are giving banana cookie vibes. Well, the baby's ears are infected, so clearly it wasn't done correctly. Stick to your guns, OP. If your parents would rather be right than have you in their life, then they aren't the kinds of people you want as role models for your kids anyway. I have 2 daughters. Bethany's 22 and has her life together. She just got a good job and is doing well. Abby's 24 and doesn't have her life together. She dropped out of college at 19 since she got pregnant, and then baby daddy left. I've been a huge part of the kid's life while Abby tries to get back on track. At 23, we decided that she needed to return to school since she couldn't support being a waiter. The whole time I was the free babysitter, basically raising the kid. So she had 1 year left of her higher education and messed it up again. So grandkid 2 is coming, and she said she'll most likely drop out again. When she told me, I asked if she was joking. She got defensive and asked what I meant. I told her that she needed to get her crap together. It resulted in an argument, but she stormed out after calling me an idiot. Not the idiot. Your daughter needs to contact the fathers of these kids and get them on child support if that's available where you are. You should not be responsible for raising her children. If you want to go the tough love route, you can evict her and force her to be an adult. She's 24. She can manage. You will still be a part of her life and your grandkids' lives, but just as a grandparent, not a full-time parent. So, clarifying, Abby's literally out sleeping around while you're providing free babysitting. If I had to argue about this, I would simply stop providing my services for free. This is the part that drops my jaw. With some very notable exceptions, it's not hard or expensive to be on birth control. Planned Parenthood's primary job is to provide affordable birth control. You've made clear to Abby that you've raised your kids, but were willing to massively help Abby so she could get her education and be on a path to support her own kid. But Abby's completely disregarded your sacrifice of time and money for her own pleasure. You were being kind to tell Abby to get it together. Others would have let her know the gravy train is ended. You've done more for Abby than Bethany because it was understood Abby needed this extra help. Abby needs to do things herself. She needs to get a job now. She needs to get her own apartment. And she needs to secure child support for her kids now. She needs to grow up. Let her fall on her butt. Stop helping and bailing her out. Update. I have a plan now and will lay it out for her tonight. If she has the kid, she can only stay if she stays in school. She has to go to court and get child support for the first kid and do the same when the other arrives. I will only babysit twice a week in real emergencies. If she needs me to babysit more, she must pay, which will be the cost of the average babysitter where I live. She needs to provide all the baby stuff I'm not paying. If she decides to drop out, she's going to be out of the house and needs to figure it out.